Yo, what's up, guys? Today I'm going to talk about taking action and why we might not take action. And I'm going to compare it to this thing we know in the weight room, or as strength and conditioning coaches, this thing we know as progressive overload. It's the big key in resistance training or strength training is progressive overload, right? The ability to come in and just do a little bit more, or to, I'm going to close that, the ability to put a little bit more stress on the muscles, on the body, on the system, okay, just a little bit at a time, to kind of constantly be improving and be evolving. Now, what the heck does this have to do with action? Well, oftentimes we as people, we get overwhelmed with the insurmountable amount of things that we think we have to do, and it often leads to doing nothing. So for example, you might think that you have to have a perfect diet, perfect nutrition, and you got to do all this stuff in the gym. You got to have the perfect routine, and if you fall below this kind of perfect baseline, it's a failure. And a lot of times it's like, if you're going to fall below it, you might as well not even do it in the first place, right? So it happens a lot. And in sales and marketing, this is called the parity of choice. So when you present someone with too many options, ultimately what ends up happening is they do nothing, right? So this happens a lot with people in their fitness, is where you get all this information coming at you on a daily basis. It's all over your social media. It's coming in your email. It's coming from all different angles. So you're learning a lot. You're reading books. There's a new diet, a new program, all these different things. And you take this information in. But again, it's so overwhelming. There's so many choices. Very often we choose to do nothing. I know I get caught up with this a lot, because as an entrepreneur, you'll make to-do lists, and then you'll cross some of that stuff off. And then every week you'll add more stuff to the to-do list. So on a weekly basis, I kind of learn, if I'm going to stare at my to-do list with 100 things to do, a lot of times it'll just kind of screw you up and you do nothing. And again, this is what happens a lot with people in fitness. You think you have to be perfect, or you got to do all these things in order to be able to improve. Now I'm going to take you back to this concept of progressive overload. So in the gym, if a young kid walks into my gym and he benches 150 pounds, let's say, and his goal is to one day bench 350, well, I'm probably not going to take him on day one and put him to bench press 350 pounds. Why? Because that's too much of an overload. That overload is more than likely going to break this young individual, right? Like, it's probably going to either snap his spine or something. He's going to get hurt. He's going to get injured. So it makes a real lot of sense, if he's benching around 150, to kind of work around there, maybe just do a little bit more to test his system and kind of take him to the next level. Now, it's the same thing with your fitness. Like, if you've never been focusing on your diet and nutrition, if you've never focused on exercise, well, you don't need the perfect diet and nutrition. You don't need the perfect exercise program, because all you really need to do is something that's a little bit more than what you're doing currently. So for example, any nutrition program that you're going to have, it's you have to do all these things, right? You have to eat all these proteins, you got to eat all these vegetables that you haven't eaten before, you got to get the right fats, you got to drink more water than than you've had before in your life, right? If you're used to not doing any of that stuff, throwing all of that at you at once is too much of an overload. Okay, it's like throwing 500 pounds on a kid that can only bench 150. It's going to break them. And that's why people oftentimes end up in failure, especially with diets, because you can be very successful in the short term, but to be able to change all those habits, in the short term, when you've been doing it for a lifetime, again, it's too much of an overload. So here's the big point. Again, can you do that stuff? Can you really overload your system and try to do everything at once? You certainly can. But if that overload, if looking at all these things that you think you have to do in terms of your fitness stops you from doing anything, and you take zero action, now we got a problem, okay? So here's what I'm telling you. You don't got to be perfect. And as a matter of fact, focusing on the perfect food type, the perfect diet, the perfect exercise program is only going to be a hindrance to you, because if you don't hit perfect, then you start stressing out, and that's cortisol, and it's a whole nother story and ball game of things that don't work for your fitness. So break it down, work from where you're at right now, okay? Work to progressively overload, just get a little bit better, okay? Take out the big picture of all the things you think you need to do, cross them off the board, and just do one thing, okay? Just do one thing better than yesterday. Something is always better than nothing. Okay, and as you develop, as you get better, you progressively overload your system in all things fitness. Okay, all habits that you're gonna improve and get better at as you go. Okay, the big point, you gotta take action. You can't read a whole bunch of information. You can't go to a seminar and hear stuff and not do anything. You need to take action on the stuff that you learn, the things that you think you know. You need to get your butt in the gym. You need to get moving. You need to improve your nutrition. But again, you don't have to do everything. You don't have to be perfect. You just got to do a little bit better, okay, than the day before, okay, or than last week, and you will progressively overload, okay, and improve yourself as you go. It's my big tip for you guys today. Take action, progressive overload. If you enjoyed this video, head down below, like, leave a comment, and of course, subscribe to this channel right here. I'm Frank Daniels, guys. Enjoy your day.